Corey from the future here. I just want to make a note before you watch this video that this isn't a push for my Vertex 5 frame. This is just an ultralight build that I came up with, and I wanted to share how it went, so I hope you enjoy the video. Corey here with Crash and Burn Racing. Welcome back to another video. And today we're going to be doing a prototype build on my freshly cut Vertex 5 frame here. Very excited to get this built. It's been something I've been designing for quite a while. And we're going to be doing the filming in a brand new filming studio that I just made. And I know it's been quite a while since you've seen a video from me. My wife just had a baby about 6 months ago. Finally have a beautiful baby boy. And I actually just found out that it looks like I'm moving overseas to another country here in just a few months. So unfortunately, it doesn't look like I'm gonna get a whole lot of use out of this brand new studio. But enough about that. Let's get down and dirty on this Vertex 5 and see how it goes. Here's a good look at this Vertex 5 frame. It is just like the Vertex 3 and the Vertex 2.5, with the exception that the arms are actually 4 separate arms this time. And still got the same camera protection. And I did make this to be lightweight. So let's get a quick measurement here. Looking at about 66 grams, which is pretty good in my book. That's a pretty light frame there. And got some feet that we're going to put on that double as arm guards here, and they're going to be soft mounting the motors also. For the components, we're going with these 2205 Badass RDQ motors. These are, what are they, 2450 kV, and they do have the 16 by 16 mounting holes in the bottom, which is perfect for these arms that I designed. For the camera, we're going with a Cadix. What model is this? This is the Turbo Micro SDR1 with the 2.1 millimeter lens. And that's for the stack. We have the SpeedX IS100 Fly Tower F4 here, and this is a 20 by 20 stack. It does only have 20 amp ESCs on this little guy, but with these being 2205, and I plan on running the 5040 props, so I don't think it's going to be too much for it, but we'll find out. Here's a look at the bottom plate where you can see the 20 by 20 mounting holes for these guys here. And this was quite a big dilemma for me in designing this frame. I really wanted to design it around this 20 by 20 stack, but there's just not a whole lot of great options for a full-size build. So I threw in these full-size mounting holes here for a full-size stack because I didn't want to limit this frame that much. And as you can see, there's 2 mounting holes here for each arm, the standoff one here, and a lock nut for this one. And it should do a really nice job of transferring all that force to all 4 of these screws if you happen to hit one arm. At least in my mind, theoretically, that's the way it would work. So let's get this ESC put on here. So now we've got our ESC in place with the 4 motors put on here. Got them all soldered up. And let's get zoomed up in here. So my primary concern about this is I'm worried about the heat buildup on the power leads here going to this ESC. So like I said before, it's a 20 amp ESC, and it should be enough for these motors, but I did lose the capacitor that came with this board. I believe it was like 150 microfarad, and so I'm going to replace it with this Panasonic, I believe it's 330 microfarad. So we're going to get this soldered into place here, and I think that'll do a lot to help with our video, so let's get this on real quick. So we now have our capacitor into place, and we've got the ESC secured at these standoffs. So now it's time to get our flight controller put on here. And I did go ahead and solder some of these pads down here in the bottom. And I will actually be doing a review of this stack in a later video. I do have another one. This is just to test it out and see how well it works. And if you do have the stack, the SpeedX stack that is, the diagram for these pads is way off, so that's something I'll address and make some documentation myself to make it easier for everyone. So I'm gonna line up these pins, flight controller to the ESC. Alright, so we got the flight controller put on now. That was actually kind of tricky. It's really easy to get these little pins screwed up in here, so be very careful on that if you have this. And now we're going to get some more standoffs on top of here and get ready for our flight controller. And we're going to put this guy on. Now we have our VTX installed, And I decided to run the wires off the top connections here as opposed to going off the board. So we'll see if we still have OSD. Hope we do. If it's designed well, we should. And yeah, so now we got the camera to put on. We have our satellite here. So let's get the top plate on here, props on, and find out our total weight. Our Vertex 5 is now all put together. And look at that stack there, pretty low. And so let's talk about some of the parts on here. These RDQ motors, so far I've liked them quite a bit. The wires are plenty long to get to the ESC, so a big plus there. As for the stack, I'm not really sure about that. It is kind of wonky. It comes with a lot of plugs to go in here, and you got soldered jumping pads, like 3 of them, or maybe it was 2 of them, whatever it was. And so if it performs well, I think it'll definitely be worth it. I mean, it's not bad. It's like, what, $60 I think. And yeah, and then we got this Caddx camera. Never used one of these, so I'm quite intrigued to try this and see how it looks. So the only thing that's left is to plug this guy into Betaflight and start ripping it and give this stack a torture test. And I almost forgot to give this guy a weight. So I was really shooting for a sub 250 build here. So let's get on here and find out what it is. Oh, let's move that prop so you can see it. 235 grams. Now there's no battery strap on here, and I don't know, maybe some Velcro will go on there, but easily 240 grams. So that's great. So let's check out some flight footage. First, I want to apologize about the quality of the flight footage. It was a super windy day, so I couldn't get too carried away, and I didn't have any better places to go to. And I also need to mention that the VTX it came with was no good. It was functioning in every way except for that the video was super bad. It was not usable. And then my second stack, it was also not usable, so I had to throw in a AKK FX3, which is my go-to 20x20 stack VTX. I actually love it very much. It works out very well. But overall, I really like the ESC and the flight controller. I did a lot of punch outs in this flight footage here. Try to make those ESCs pop, and they never did. They actually held up quite well, and on the stock PIDs, it actually flew very well. These components seem to all work very well together. Another good frame for this build would be the floss frame, which is also very light. And I think this build is very comparable to the Emax Hawk frame, which is $250. And the price for this frame, or this build, was actually about $210. So for under $250, you could actually build a really nice ultralight build just like this one. Well, that does it for this video. I'll have links down below to my frame, which you can check out if you're interested, and I'll have links to all the components as well that I used. I'm Core with Crash and Burn Racing, and thank you for watching.